Verse 7 gives us the war in heaven. Now this war is linked to verse 4, when the dragon stands before the woman ready to devour her child. And verse 7 onwards gives us now the battle that was to take place between these two opposing factions. These are the two great signs of the 12th chapter. The woman on the one hand, the dragon on the other. And now the battlefield is set in heaven, not in the presence of the Almighty, but in the political heavens of that time. And on the one hand, we have got Michael and his angels. And on the other hand, we've got the dragon and his angels. The idea of the angels is quite easy to understand. The messengers, the supporters, those who do the bidding of the one in charge, as the angels in heaven obviously do the bidding of the Almighty. The dragon is taken from verse 3 and verse 4. So on the one hand, we've got the power represented by the dragon and his supporters, whilst on the other hand, we've got the one spoken of as Michael. Now don't forget, the battle was not to be between the dragon and the woman. Verse 4 tells us the battle was to be between the dragon and the child which the woman produced. And that child is named in verse 7 as Michael. It is not the battle between the dragon and the woman, but the battle between the dragon and the child which was the woman produced, who is named here in verse 7 as Michael. If we can go back to the 12th chapter of the book of Daniel, we've got the name Michael appearing in the 12th chapter. At that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. At what time? Well, chapter 11 has given us, from verse 40, the time of the end, when the king of the north shall come down, overflow into the Holy Land, will go into Egypt, eventually because of the tidings out of the north and of the east, will go back and plant the tabernacle of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. So Daniel chapter 11 is giving us some of the details which we find also in Ezekiel 38, with the coming down of the great confederacy from the north to sweep down through the Holy Land into Egypt and eventually come back to the city of Jerusalem, and there, around the city of Jerusalem, will be the commencement of the battle of Armageddon. Then at that time, says verse 1 of chapter 12, shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of his people. And of course it will be the Lord Jesus Christ, who is here represented by Michael, who will stand up as the great prince for the children of his people. Remember again, we've said on many occasions, the great battle at the time of the end will be for the controversy of Zion. It will be those who are opposing the principle of Zionism and those who are in support of it. And the champion of the Jewish people at that time will not be Britain, will not be America. The champion of Israel at that time will be the one whom their fathers crucified 2,000 or so years ago. It will be the Lord Jesus Christ which will stand up as the ruler of his people and will go forth to deliver them in their time of trouble. And the name Michael means one like unto God. But he stands in verse 1, notice, as the champion of his people, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And therefore, although Jesus is his name, Michael is used as a representative name of the Lord Jesus Christ, one like unto God himself, who standeth as the champion of his people. Now, how appropriate, therefore, having set that as a scene back in the 12th chapter of Daniel, when we come to the 12th chapter of the Apocalypse, the woman brings forth a child. And that child, as Paul has told us in 2 Thessalonians 2, was going to exalt himself above God, so that he was like unto God himself in his own eyes. And he was to stand as the prince, as the champion for the religious organization of that time, which of course was supporting him in his warfare. And therefore, verse 7, Michael is an apt title for Emperor Constantine, because the battle that was to ensue was between Constantine as the representative and the leader of the Christian faction, and on the other hand, you've got Licinius as the representative of the pagan Roman Empire of the day. And verse 7, therefore, is the battle which ensued between, on the one hand, Christianity, with its champion, Michael, Constantine, and on the other hand, the dragon, with its champion, Licinius. You'll notice in verse 8, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. It was impossible in the political arena of the Roman Empire for these two powers to coexist. They were bitterly and totally opposed, the one to the other. So Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. Constantine became the victor. In the battle of Adrianople, at a place called Chrysipolis, in AD 324, Constantine completely and utterly defeated Licinius and became the sole ruler of the Roman Empire, and Christianity became the sole accepted religion of the day. The power of the dragon was now overthrown as far as his pagan beliefs were concerned. The power which was still Rome's, there was still a military power, now invested with Emperor Constantine, had changed from being a worshipper of idols to a worshipper of Christianity. And so in verse 9, that great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So that occurred when Constantine defeated Licinius, and the great dragon, the power of the serpent, the guise of pagan Rome, was cast into the earth. But if we can just go back to chapter 6, verse 12 describes the sixth seal like this. There was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, the rich men, the chief captains, the mighty men, the bondmen, every freedman, hid themselves in the dens and the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and the rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth upon the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. Although it would seem to speak in the language that it's appertaining to the Lord Jesus Christ, this was the political upheaval which occurred in the days of Emperor Constantine, because he fought in the name of the cross. He believed he had seen a vision from heaven, believing that he had come from Christ himself, telling him that he would be victorious.